Veterans Voice, stories that deserve to be heard, is proudly sponsored by Calling Gilbert Wright and Carter.
My name is John Burns. I'm a retired Army colonel, and this is my story. I got started in the Army in the mid-70s. I graduated from high school in '76, went to college, and was the oldest of three boys, middle-class working family. Played football, Division III school, wrestled, and I really got interested in ROTC when I was in college. And little did I know when I went to college in '76 that I'd be commissioned in 1980. Had an ROTC scholarship that helped pay my way through college, helped lessen the burden on my parents with my two younger brothers coming. Thought I'd do my 4-year scholarship commitment and get out. And after that, and I was accepted into flight school in 1983. And from that on, I spent 25 years flying helicopters in the Army. My story really took a big change on May 9, 2004. I was assigned to Iraq in a headquarters position from the beginning of the war. And we had gone back to Iraq in May of 2004 to work on some theater logistics challenges that we had, and had been traveling from the headquarters down to what everybody called was the Green Zone in Baghdad, which is where the embassy was, where a lot of the international organizations were. And we had made this 7-mile track along what was called Route Irish, or the airport road. We had made this six previous days. We had 8 of us up from the theater headquarters, Army Theater Headquarters, that was the Joint Land Component Command, and we're doing some coordination. And Mother's Day, May 9th, was a bright, sunny day, probably 135 degrees, typical dry, and we had a change in the mission. I was the convoy commander. At that time, we didn't have enough up-armored Humvees for the headquarters, so we had just Mitsubishi Laredo SUVs. We had an additional guy who I'd worked with previously in the last year, and I knew what he needed to get to the Green Zone to get with his organization. So I was a convoy commander. I said, you can get my seat, which was the middle vehicle, right rear seat. We had all been briefed, had done it constantly. It happened real quick. He knew that we were taking off and he says, I need to get down there. And so I said, okay, you get in my seat, I'll go to the lead vehicle. And we did our standard way that we had done the mission every day that week. We got about a mile and a half short of the first entry point, and we got hit with improvised explosive device, IED. And the IED directly penetrated the seat that I had sat in for 6 days. And it was the seat that I put the fellow in, and needless to say, the bomb explosion actually impacted all 3 vehicles. Our vehicle in the lead was turned over on its right side, and I came out of the vehicle. We went back to the middle vehicle that was pretty much destroyed at the time, got the injured out, and he expired before we were able to get into the Green Zone. Things happened so fast. It was just, we were headquarters. We were just doing a standard mission that we had done, and in a split second, everything had just gone terrible. So the rest of us were taken care of in terms of the injuries that we had, and then I had about 5 more weeks left in theater before I rotated out, and I kept everything inside. I just compartmentalized it. I just kept it inside, and went back to an assignment. I had some injuries that were taken care of there. Went back, just kind of kept everything to myself. Didn't really share it with a lot of people. I didn't really want to talk about it because I had been the leader of that convoy, and I had not brought back all the guys that I started with on that mission. And I think that's something that, as a leader, really gets at you when something like that happens. A lot of times in the military, we're kind of taught to compartmentalize, keep the things inside, and that was my personality. So I went back to teach at the Naval War College because that was where my family at the time was. I had 2 adult children that were in college at the time. And I just kept it inside. And through the fall of 2004, it continued to kind of gnaw away at me, and I would just kind of stuff it down. And I'd retracted into the basement of the house, and I used alcohol to kind of numb the pain. And this continued through 2005, and basically fall of 2005, I imploded. I had not slept in 11 days. It was the same nightmare over and over again. It was the same face looking up at you. And this day, I don't remember, but those were probably the darkest point of my life. And I had lost some confidence in myself. I just became a different person. I retracted. I didn't want to interact with people. I just went and taught, and then went back and just kept to myself. And finally, due to some circumstances, someone reached back into my life that had been a part of my college days and had been my first love. There was something about that feeling that just kind of brought me back to reality where I was in my life. About 6 months later, I just made the decision that I wouldn't go to the military for some help, but I needed to help myself. I had got to that low part, had the darkest day of my life in October of 2005. I know what it's like to be at that point of your life, but I also knew that I couldn't keep it all inside. I had to get it out. So I went through an organization that was not associated with the military, got some help. Kind of thought I was over it, and kind of went on, and then in 2008, after I'd retired, in 2007, that it came back again, and it was every bit as strong as probably it was in 2005. So at that time, I was estranged from my family, estranged from my adult kids. My parents were in Florida here, were having some health problems. My company moved me to Orlando in fall of 2009, and I reconnected with the first love of my life, who I think if you talk to somebody that's been through this, there's someone that makes a severe impact in terms of kind of helping you get through what you're doing, and Cheryl was that for me. And for some reason, things happened, and we connected, and she's helped me greatly. She's now my wife. Got married about 6 months ago, but she has been a part of my life since I came to Orlando. Based on her encouragement, I went to the VA and really kind of found somebody that I could connect with in terms of a counselor. He had been a F-4 pilot in Vietnam, and then had gone into counseling, and it was something about his approach that really, and I think more importantly, I knew that he had been in a similar place that I had been. He had been former military. He understood some of the ugliness of war and some of the personal toll that it takes on people, and he had taken that on as his career mission. So on and off for almost 5 years, he helped me kind of put things in perspective in terms of the survival guilt that I'd had, that had kind of been gnawed at me for almost 7 years at the time. And I go back and see him. He's helped me put things in order in terms of what it's like to lose somebody in war, and what it's like to be able to understand that you can't control things, that sometimes things are out of your control, and you got to move on in your life. And he's helped me deal with a lot of the invisible wounds of war that a lot a lot of people deal with, and those are the nightmares that come back to haunt you as your life goes on. And he's helped put things in perspective. I know this is something that I have to deal with for the rest of my life, but he's kind of helped me have some tools that, I don't keep things inside now. I'm able to get them out. I'm able to talk to him with Cheryl. I'm able to talk to him with family. I'm able to share the story. If someone had told me 6 years ago, 7 years ago, that I'd be sitting on this chair telling my story and be able to do that, I would have said it would have never happened. But I think being able to tell my story and being able to reach out to other veterans that have all gone through similar things of the ugliness of war helps me in my own personal recovery. I'm extremely bothered by this figure of 22 veterans committing suicide every day. I think it's a national level effort that involves more than just veterans. And part of it is just talking to people. Talk to a veteran. Ask him about his story. Whatever you can do to kind of help him communicate, maybe some of the struggles that he's gone through. And we have a very good veteran network here in Orlando. We kind of tie. We know when somebody's identified or somebody's new, and it's a kind of an informal network, but it's a really powerful network in terms of being able to identify somebody who needs some help, so that we can kind of collectively mobilize the resources to get them the help that they need. I'm proud of the veteran community in Orlando. They're very active. They've kind of taken this on as a mission, while there's many different organizations that are involved, we kind of are able to share information, to network with each other, and to stay involved. And I think that's something that makes me very proud. And that's some of the motivation that, and it kind of jumped me into my current chapter in my life. I'd retired in 2007. I'd worked as a defense contractor. I did a lot of things that I did in terms of my last few assignments in the Army in terms of command and control systems. And then I had an experience with my previous company where I were able to hire some wounded warriors that had single, double amputees, but really knew mission command systems. And they were able to be hired to help train. And I tell you, it gave me the motivation that said, well, maybe I can do this myself. And in 2012, I launched Eagle 6 Technical Services, which is a technology provider company. I'm blessed that 80% of the company are veterans. We're doing some amazing things. We're help supporting the current war fight. And it's the motivation that keeps me going each day is being able to employ veterans. We've done a lot to address the unemployment issue, but we still have a number of veterans that are underemployed, that really have got jobs that their skill set's way higher. Hiring a veteran, you get a sense of values that they've come out of their military experience. They believe in the team concept. It's the team that makes something happen. Their integrity, their honesty, just their general attitude. They're willing to do anything to get the mission done. And if they run into a roadblock, well, they'll figure out a way to get around that roadblock. I'm a part of an association called the Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses, founded here in Central Florida in Orlando in 2012. And our association is like a chamber of commerce for veteran-owned businesses. And veterans hire veterans. I mean, that is a proven fact. And we've got some wonderful opportunities here in Orlando for veterans. I know I'm always looking for veterans with IT certifications that have that experience in command and control to kind of add to our mission as we continue to grow. And I'm committed to hiring veterans like a lot of other veteran-owned business owners here in Florida, because we see and we value what a veteran has gone through and those kind of core values that are part of their fabric. My personal story, say in my future when I'm looking back on that is that, hey, here's somebody who made an impact in someone's life that really touched somebody, that knew how blessed he had been through the many paths that life takes you, but that had made a personal difference in people's lives. And one of the, the things that I enjoy that helps me the most is reaching out and touching lives of those that are less fortunate, that, for various reasons aren't that, and help make their life a little bit better. I think that's kind of the legacy that someday I hope is that here was somebody who cared about people, who reached out to people and helped make their lives just a little bit better.